Hello, BookTube. It's Friday, so it's time for Friday Reads. I'm not as far ahead as I had hoped to be with my reading this week. I was I did a Tuesday ramble, and since then I've got more medication or better medication for my migraines, and that sent me a bit of a tizzy for late Wednesday and all of yesterday. I sort of was out of it in the sense of too drowsy to actually even read. So I'm still plugging along with Frank Welsh's History of South Africa. I do love the jacket. I like that more than his writing. I'm having difficulties with it. I'm about 200 pages into it. Um, Structurally, it's okay. He starts out with more or less at 1652-53 when the Dutch East India Company set up their first post there. Uh, and there's a little bit before that. There's hardly anything about the indigenous peoples, which I wish there was more. But he goes through that from 1650 basically to he goes back a little further. So let's say he talks about the exploration of the European exploration in the late 1400s. So he goes from about 1500 almost right up to 1800 in like about 150 pages. Not even that. Yeah, I don't even think it was 150 pages. So it's too quick. Uh, but the other thing is that infuriates me, and it infuriates me with some historians that I don't mind comparisons to like what was happening at the same time in another part of the world. Like he talks about the Great Trek of 1838, and he says it's about the same time as Brigham Young and the United States was taking the Mormons, across to Utah, leaving the sort of the United States territories and creating his own sort of city state in a sense. And it's very similar types of people, somewhat similar reasons. They were leaving as the Boers were leaving the British territory, the Cape territory. Um, so that's fine. But he has at least I've only not even 200 pages into it, and he's had four references to Hitler already. Because he'll say, "Oh, Shaka, Zulu chief, he was at his most Hitlerite at this point." And it just bugs me when they do stuff like that. Or he talks about the way the Boer children were raised. It's reminds you of the Hitler Youth. And it's like, no, please don't do that. Um, so yeah, and he doesn't deal with the indigenous peoples only when really they interact with the Europeans, which is a shame. The other thing is he's got some prejudice. He definitely has a prejudice against people that are overweight and obese, because every time he mentions something is that they did not like war. It's because he was fat, and he talks about Dingani, the successor of Shaka for the Zulu. Oh, he wasn't interested in war because he was grossly obese. It's like, and it's over and over and over again. Like every 20 or 30 pages, he'll mention something like this about that they were lazy. They didn't want to go and work, or they didn't want to go and fight because they were obese. And it gets tiring after a while. But anyway, I will persevere with it. I'm still looking for my ultimate history of South Africa, which is not going to happen, I don't think, in one book. I'm going to need a book that is about 1,000 pages up to 1800 to the British, and then probably another 1,000 or 2,000 pages of the British, um, up until independence in 1814-15, whenever that 1914-15 that was, and then maybe another two books, or at least 1,000 pages from then until the release of Nelson Mandela, and then another big book after that. So it's not going to happen. But the closest I'm going to get is something like this. This is This is 1870 to 1915, which I haven't started reading it, by Martin Meredith. But I'll get back to that in a second. I'm continuing to read M.R. James. I'm really enjoying the stories. It's about the third time that I've read them. They are, well, it's called an annotated edition, but it's just with notes, not that well annotated. But I am enjoying them very much so. I'm reading one story a day, and I haven't had any more headway from since Tuesday on the Tales of the Troubled Dead by it's Ghostly Stories in Cultural History by Catherine Belsley. I haven't had any further reading on that, which I got to get to. Hopefully, I'll get the South Africa book done this weekend. Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. But yeah, the reason why I mentioned the Martin Meredith, because this, and I got today, I got this one here, which is a history of 50 years of independence of Africa, the state of Africa. So from 1945 to 2005, basically, that's what this covers. And I'm happy with this. It's, they didn't describe it so well. It's a bit, what I would say, that's tattered at the top, even so they said, oh, one little tear in the corner. Well, no, it's tattered. But the price was good, so I'm pleased with that. I still got another one coming of his. Yesterday I received the other one, The Fortunes of Africa, 5,000 Year History of Wealth, Greed, and Endeavor. This is about 800 pages, so this is going to be a fun read. And it's just a general history as well. And it's in good enough shape. It got a bit of damage by the delivery idiot who delivered it. It was pouring rain yesterday, and I did get to the door. I was a bit late, but just a few seconds longer than I normally would have. And he throws it over a gate, which can't be accessed, into a puddle. Paper box into a puddle. Well, he didn't know it was a puddle, obviously, but it's pissing down rain. So it's just lucky it wasn't damaged more than it was. It was dinged on the corners here, which then has actually split the paper covering the board. So, but yeah. So it's like, I don't know. It's just people that they seem to be brainless. It's like yesterday the postman shoves in a new magazine, British Archaeology. He folds it up. Takes real talent. It's ripped right through, about over an inch into it. Takes talent to do that. Real talent. If it doesn't fit, don't force it. Knock on the bloody door. So I didn't have a good time yesterday with that. So yeah, well, another thing that was interesting, because I didn't get my Times Literary Supplement until Tuesday, and Michael Moore replied in a comment that he didn't get his as well, so it seems to be a problem. And this week too, I didn't get it yesterday. It didn't come today, so I expect it to be come next Tuesday. But he did mention something that I was really interested in the in brief section. There's a small little review by Erica, I think it's a McAlpine, Love's Cold Returning, John Clare's 1841 Odyssey from Essex to Northamptonshire, by Ellis Hall and Bridget Summock. And it's basically, it's 410 pages of his walk. He was put in at the Epping Forest. He was put into a mental institution, and he escaped. He was going to be taken by gypsies. He had it all apparently set up, but he didn't. He walked the however many miles it was. And this is sort of a more detailed story. The review's okay. It just says it's Love's Cold Returning teeters between scholarship and creative response. Readers who prize detail over concision will learn an enormous amount, and Clare enthusiasts will appreciate the equal measure of passion and the factual precision that Hall and Summock pour into their hybrid, manufactured, or multifaceted book. So I've ordered that. It looks like it's a paperback original by a publisher called 38 One Press. Never heard of it before. It's £20. Amazon doesn't have it listed, but there was a seller that was listing it as new, so I've ordered it from them. So I don't have it yet to see. It's not something I doubt I'll read it immediately, but because it's not available that easily, I thought I better get it just in case it disappears, um, because it is something I definitely want. Um, so so yeah, so that's sort of more or less my reading for the week so far, and what I'm going to continue to read is Africa. I hope to get it finished over the weekend, but I'm doubtful. It'll probably be Monday or Tuesday. I will be continuing to read uh, what's it called, Tales of the Troubled Dead, and because I'm really enjoying that, as well as the M.R. James stories. But after I'm reading after I read this one, I've got another one on that's sort of similar, but it's ghost stories from the 1840s, I think, to 1920 or something like that. It's actually it's confined to fictional stories, rather than this is a little more in cultural history. And then after I'm finished the Africa one, I've got a book by Ian Knight. It's another history of the Zulu War, more or less is Gondwana and Rorke's Drift, but I think he covers the whole war in that. It's a hefty one. It's about 500 or 600 pages long, so that'll take me a while. And then once I'm done that, it'll be this Forge of the Green one I showed by Martin Meredith. Africa, 5,000 year history. So that's sort of my plans over the next little while. There's some big books there, so it'll slow my reading down to a certain extent. But anyway, have a good weekend, BookTube. I'll be back on Sunday with the next chapter of Ventures in Book Collecting. Bye for now, BookTube.